An AEW star is gone from the company. A top WWE star is now added to the list of other top WWE stars who have re-signed with the company. And we got a major WWE departure. We're going to talk about what it has to do with Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant. And it's all coming up right here on The Ango Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Ango Show. This individual right here, his name is Brad Blum. You may have heard of him, you may have not heard of him, but it's important because his profile on the WWE corporate website has been removed from the company. A lot of people were wondering if he left the company or if WWE removed him. And well, it's come out that he tendered his resignation on May 1st. Brad Blum was the chief operating officer for the WWE with Nick Khan and Paul Levesque, all three of them being considered the most powerful officers in WWE. This came from Dave Meltzer. He's been with the WWE from 2006 to 2019, where he was Vince McMahon's executive vice president and chief of staff before he became executive vice president of operations through 2023. Now, we also need to keep in mind that he was revealed as number 2 in the Janelle Grant lawsuit against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. By the way, just kind of keep this in mind, that Wrestling News Co. has dropped this little paraphrasing that I'm doing here. They say that Blum also was allegedly warning Vince McMahon that there were a lot of rumors circulating about his relationship with Janelle Grant. Now, keep in mind, WWE is currently in the midst of this lawsuit. Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis are in the midst of this lawsuit. John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon are going to be going up against Janelle Grant. And obviously, with this type of thing going on, as you guys all know, I've said this before, I've said this a million times. I don't mind saying it a million more times. These are allegations. They are absolutely disgusting allegations. There is not a thing that I can tell you that justifies these allegations in the slightest, okay? But at the same time, too, I am not a lawyer. This is a current lawsuit. And with that being said, there's been no indication that Blum was being forced out by WWE. There's been nothing said about Brad Blum being, fired by Endeavor or anything like that. He chose to make the resignation himself. And as far as the rest goes with the lawsuit and everything that's happening, it is very much wait and see. I think it is very important that we understand that. I think these topics need to be handled with maturity. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really give you an opinion on a lawsuit as it's ongoing. Other than what I can tell you is that this man was considered the top 3 most powerful executive in WWE alongside Nick Khan and Triple H. Why did he leave? How did he leave? These are things that we do not know, but maybe one day we will get answers to. I want to turn our attention to Seth Rollins. If you were getting your hopes up to see Tyler Black in AEW, my friends, I hate to burst your bubble, hate to sour your day just a little bit, but the reality is it probably wasn't very likely at all. Fightful Select has reported that it is a multi-year deal for big money for Seth Rollins. A source close to the WWE and Seth Rollins have said to Fightful Select that they are not going to let him go. Keep in mind that I think everybody kind of knew that Seth Rollins would probably stay with the WWE. Obviously, there's a lot of AEW loyalists who genuinely want to see him in AEW. And look, I understand too, like, this guy is a great performer, great worker. You let him tell stories with Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega or Okada or something. You could do a lot of cool stuff with him. But at the end of the day, it is very clear that this man is loyal to the WWE. And now the guy who has had his back throughout his entire career is running the creative direction for the company. So Seth Rollins being locked down by the WWE, ultimately, it just makes sense. Now, look, I'm going to say this. I know maybe people will try to take this out of context, but it's important to know that when you're in the WWE and you've built your entire career based on your name in WWE, WWE does not let you take your name elsewhere, okay? So Seth Rollins would not have been Seth Rollins in AEW. He would have been known as Tyler Black. Now, Seth Rollins has built all of his equity in WWE. Okay? A lot of people know Seth Rollins from The Shield. They know when he was with The Authority. They knew when Seth Rollins became this over-the-top character. Why? Because it's the WWE, and the WWE owns the Seth Rollins name. So if you thought that Tyler Black would show up in AEW, it honestly probably wouldn't have helped AEW. And I'm not speaking with a bias, and I'm not speaking with this anti-AEW rhetoric. What I'm speaking with is based on evidence that we've seen. Adam Copeland, right? Known as Edge in the WWE, but in AEW, he can't be Edge. He's got to be Adam Copeland. Mercedes Varnado, a.k.a. Sasha Banks. We know that Sasha Banks cannot be Sasha Banks in AEW. And the overall AEW product hasn't garnered more national attention since those arrivals. And that's just a list of a few, right? Obviously, my point that I'm trying to make is WWE owning the Seth Rollins name, WWE having him being pushed as the World Heavyweight Championship, the actual likelihood of him leaving was very, very slim. I think a lot of people in the comments try to make it seem like a lot of people would be leaving WWE. Anything is a possibility. I'm more intrigued to see how Endeavor retains talent throughout time, and so far, they've kept several top stars. Drew, Finn, and Seth are all staying with the company. You know who's not staying in the company? Ethan Page is gone from AEW, and my goodness, I swear I'm telling you guys right now, if you go back and watch my old TNA content, if you guys go back and watch my old AEW content, I loved Ethan Page. And it's so funny because Ethan Page in AEW initially seemed like there was a lot of good that could come from this. Now, this is actually getting kind of tricky. Ethan Page is no longer with the promotion. And now with that being said, we need to understand that he started taking bookings in March of this year, which was a pretty big indication that he was on his way out or going to be on his way out. Now we need to understand that Fightful's new report suggests that Page was looking to leave AEW as far back as February, although he was slated for an ROH TV title feud with Kyle Fletcher, and things changed due to him having visa issues causing plans to be delayed. Man, I like this guy so much. I don't get it. Look, I understand. You got this company with Okada and Ospreay and Adam Copeland and all of these big names that you've brought in. But Ethan Page was somebody who left Impact Wrestling. He was part of the North Tag Team with Josh Alexander. They both broke off. This guy then comes to AEW. He starts doing some stuff with Scorpio Sky. And then he starts doing some stuff with Dan Lambert and all this. Like, bro, this kid is talented. I call him a kid. He's not a kid. He's a grown-ass man who actually happens to be really good at this pro wrestling thing. And quite honestly, being put on ROH was a really dumb decision considering how great he was on AEW television. I don't know the reason for why he wanted to leave the company, but what I will say is this. It is very apparent that a guy like Ethan Page has a lot of potential in this wrestling world on TV. He is very, very good with his promos, and he's a good wrestler. I'm not saying Ethan Page is a game changer. I'm not saying Ethan Page is going to move 20,000 tickets. I'm not saying Ethan Page is going to bring in 55 million viewers to this TV show. But what I'm saying is that Ethan Page is a great piece to the puzzle that presents a good wrestling product. And clearly, at some point, as far back as February, this guy had no interest in being there. Why? Is it, does it have to do with not being utilized or not being utilized in a way he prefers? That seems to be a common topic that keeps getting brought up these days. Matt Hardy just talked about it on his own podcast. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Obviously, because I loved his work in Impact, I would love to see him go to Impact. I would love to see him do a singles feud with Josh Alexander. I don't know if that would ever happen. I also want to point out that WWE would be a good spot for Ethan Page in NXT. They got call-ups. A lot of people think NXT might be depleted. You got a lot of people that are NIL. But at the same time, too, you bring in Ethan Page, a longtime vet of the game, yet still not even reaching his peak. There is still so much more that he can do. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethan Page may be gone from AEW, but if another wrestling company out there exists and has a brain in their head, then what they are going to do is make that call, and hopefully it all works out. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.